Maps are another important family of visuals in Power BI. In this video, I'll discuss some of the mapping tools that Power BI offers and focus specifically on how to build a bubble map. I'll walk you through some best practices for using the map visual, discuss some formatting and customization options, and show you how to build an interactive mapping tool that your users will love. Almost every company in the world today generates some sort of geolocational data, ranging from customer addresses to the links in a supply chain. Chances are, every time you purchase a product online, the company providing you that product tracks where all of the parts that make up your product come from, where the product was assembled, where the product was housed, and where the product stopped on its way to your front door. And this geographic data is very important to companies. Maybe a company wants to know which cities to target with a marketing campaign so that they'll see the biggest increase in sales. Maybe a company is considering opening a new store, but they need to find the best location relative to their customers. Data maps combine important business metrics with the geographic data that companies collect to try to identify where they should take action. Power BI offers an amazing variety of maps. For example, imagine you have a data set that contains information about Los Angeles, and you have a field that contains a bunch of LA area zip codes. With Power BI, you could create a bubble map, a heat map, or a filled map. In just a minute, I'll explain each of these maps in detail, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. Power BI has more maps than I could ever hope to cover here. And the only thing you need to use these amazing visuals is to provide geographic fields in your data set, like state, city, zip code, country, or longitude and latitude data. Most of the time, Power BI is clever enough to recognize that those fields represent locations, and all you have to do is drop them into a map visual and Power BI will take care of the rest. It doesn't even matter if your states are spelled out or if they're abbreviated. As long as your dataset is consistent and clean, Power BI will know just what to do. However, before you get too excited about maps, there are a few things to keep in mind. For example, while map visuals are very attractive and interesting, good data is key. So if your dataset is a mess and full of typos, a map visual isn't going to save you. In a particularly dirty dataset, some states may be spelled dozens of different ways. Map visuals can also be misleading. For example, you may throw together a map of website traffic or sales or customer service complaints and find that California, Texas, and New York always stand out more than other states. This is likely because those population centers are also where your company does the most business. So in order for your map to be informative, you may need to figure out a way to account for population density in your calculations. And finally, maps can be a bit of a distraction. If you make a map visual, your users may love it just because it's colorful and they may never have seen their key business metrics displayed vividly in a map before. But maps are not always the most effective way of presenting even geographic data. For example, let's say you have a metric where Rhode Island or Washington, D.C. or some other very small area contain the most important insights. Those areas could be very tricky to spot if you're not careful, and a bar chart might actually be a better solution. So just because maps are cool and attention-grabbing doesn't mean you should always go that direction.